Good afternoon, everyone, on our third and last day of Boston College closing TED event. Congratulations to all the day 1 and day 2 speakers for your wonderful talks. And now over to Valeria, Vito, and Manu, ready for today's ideas worth spreading.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Hope you're doing fine. Ready to open your heads and listen to amazing talks? I hope so. Okay, get ready. Tell me something. Do you think you can control everything in your lives? Really? Can you? Can you think of dreams? Do you think you can control your dreams? Okay, let's see if you change your mind. Our first speaker today is going to explain to us a way to control dreams. With us, Gonzalo Lidwin.
Imagínate ser millonario, imagínate estar con el amor de tu vida, imagínate tener todo lo que quieras por un tiempo. Suena loco, pero esto es posible gracias al poder de controlar los sueños. Los científicos han demostrado que controlar los sueños puede hacerte más feliz, te ayuda a enfrentar la realidad, reduce el estrés y estimula la creatividad. Pero te estarás preguntando, ¿de qué me está hablando este pibe? ¿De controlar los sueños en serio? La respuesta es sí. Controlar los sueños no es algo fácil. Es un elaborado y complicado proceso del cual solo el 5% de la población mundial puede hacerlo y sin practicar. Si no sos parte de ese 5%, no te preocupes. Yo tampoco lo era, pero pude aprender a manejarlo. Dediqué mucho tiempo a esto. Estuve noche tras noche practicando y practicando y practicando. Fui muy persistente para esto. Hasta que un día estaba mirando una serie y de repente decidí tomar una pequeña siesta de unos 30 minutos. En ese poco tiempo pude hacerlo. Pude controlar mis sueños. Cuando desperté, lo primero que hice fue contarle a mi hermana y a mi hermana sobre esto. Fue uno de los días más increíbles de mi vida. Estaba sumamente contento, había olvidado mis problemas y en sí fue una gran experiencia. Sabelo, si yo lo puedo hacer, vos también podés hacerlo. Algo que quiero dejar en claro antes de seguir es la diferencia entre los sueños lúcidos y controlar los sueños. Mucha gente conoce los sueños lúcidos, pero los confunde con controlar los sueños. Los sueños lúcidos es estar consciente dentro de tus sueños, es saber que estás soñando, es ver lo que está pasando, pero no poder controlarlos. Ahora sí, el momento que estabas esperando. ¿Cómo controlar los sueños? El secreto para poder hacer esto en realidad es estar consciente dentro de ellos. Esto pasa cuando la parte izquierda de nuestro cerebro, que es la parte del razonamiento, está casi despierta. Yo ahora te voy a compartir algunos tips para que puedas estar consciente dentro de tus sueños y puedas controlarlos. Tienes que buscar unos chequeos de realidad que lo que van a hacer es reconocer si estás soñando o no. Para esto puedes chequear espejos, títulos de libros, la hora, prender y apagar la luz. En los sueños, estas cosas están distorsionadas o no andan, por lo que será mucho más fácil reconocer si estás soñando o no. Si esto no funciona para nada, otro método es poner una alarma 30 minutos antes de lo que te levantás usualmente, y así podrás estar consciente dentro de tus sueños. Lo que te voy a comentar ahora aumentará entre un 20 a 50% las chances de estar consciente dentro de un sueño. Es repetir una palabra clave o frase antes de irte a dormir. Lo que va a hacer esto es que antes de que te vayas a dormir y repitas muchas veces esta palabra, quede grabada en tu memoria. Por lo que cuando estés soñando y recuerdes esa palabra, podrás reconocer si estás soñando o no. Algo que recomiendo que es bastante importante es escribir lo que querés ver en tus sueños, a la hora de controlarlos, claro. ¿Qué te gustaría ver? Dibujalo, escribilo, pero ten en cuenta que hasta el mínimo detalle es sumamente importante. Algo que no recomiendo para nada es mirar una serie o programa de televisión antes de irte a dormir, porque lo único que va a hacer esto es alejarte de tu objetivo. Te vas a olvidar de querer controlar los sueños y hasta de tu objetivo, de lo que querés ver. Entonces, y también algo que también es bastante importante y tengas en cuenta es que va a haber noches en las que vas a estar consciente, pero no vas a poder controlar los sueños. Y sí, es re frustrante y es horrible, pero quédate tranquilo que va a valer la pena. Bueno, acá vamos a ver algunas técnicas para poder estar consciente dentro de tus sueños. Ahora, acá está la cosa. Esto no va a ser nada fácil, pero yo te voy a ayudar con algunos otros métodos para que puedas estar consciente y puedas controlarlos. Cuando te levantes a la mañana y recuerdes algo de tu sueño, escribilo en un diario de sueños. ¿Por qué? Porque cuando escribas a la mañana lo que recuerdes de tus sueños y tengas un tiempo en tu diario esto escrito, lo que va a pasar es que vas a ver cómo funciona tu cerebro a la hora de estar soñando y vas a poder analizar distintos detalles. Otro método es meditar, que lo que hace es despejar la mente y refresca la memoria. Por último, pero no menos importante, si estás consciente dentro de tus sueños, relájate, no te pongas nervioso, porque lo único que vas a hacer es despertarte, te vas a poner de mal humor y no queremos que eso pase. Ahora, si estás consciente y estás relajado, solo te queda un paso restante. Imagina lo que querés ver dentro de tus sueños. Es asombroso cómo funciona el cerebro humano, cómo soñamos, cómo a veces recordamos parte de esos sueños, cómo analiza lo que hicimos en un día y lo pone en formato de sueño. La duración media de un sueño es de unos 15 minutos. ¿Y viste cuando a veces no recordás parte de tus sueños? Es porque el cerebro bloquea esos sueños. La razón, porque es muy aburrido el sueño o porque es tan impactante que no podemos aguantarlos. Es simplemente fantástico. Ahora que tenés la posibilidad de controlar los sueños, puedes hacer lo que quieras. Podés reencontrarte con alguien que extrañas mucho, podés volver a lugares paradisíacos, podés revivir conciertos y charlas inolvidables. Nuestra imaginación no tiene límites, porque soñar es algo mágico. Y nunca es tarde para soñar algo y hacerlo realidad. Mi parte ya está hecha. Ahora es tu turno. Dejo en tus manos esta información que podés hacer lo que quieras con ella. Entonces, tengo una pregunta para vos. ¿Cómo va a ser tu próximo sueño?
Whoa, I've never heard someone take the sentence living the dream so literally. Anyways, have you ever felt that Argentina was disappointing you? Well, I'm kidding, of course you have. But for some, there's still hope. So our next speaker is gonna share his point of view on this. Is Argentina a country for everyone? With us, Patricio Ichagra.
Two thousand one was a horrible year for Argentina. Do you remember it? If you're a person of my age, you probably not. That year, GDP fell 11% between 2001 and 2002, with poverty that climbed up to 50% and 19.7% of unemployment. This was one of the worst economic crises Argentina ever faced. The chaos was even bigger, and our country was just broken. 2003 came upon us. I was born. In this particular year, Néstor Kirchner became president. Argentina restructured its debt, achieved a fiscal surplus, and increased the country's monetary reserves. That led the country to maintain a growth rate of 9% until 2007. You can hate or maybe love this guy, but these are the facts. I'm not here to talk about economics. This was just an introduction to set some things straight. Why have I talked about the worst years Argentina lived? I have done that to say that today, after 19 years, we are exactly in the same place or worse. Many economists gave several testimonies, such as Lucas Navarro from Bolsa de Comercio and Jorge Colina from IDESA. Both are not very positive testimonies, right? The year is 2020, and we're in the same spot. Things happened in the middle, of course. Some people say we have grown, and other people we have not. But this does not matter if we're in the same place as we were 19 years ago. Take a look at this article. Is this title a shock to anyone? Young people are our future. Young people like me, for example. The fact that young people are looking forward to leaving is a pity. One thing young people say is that in Argentina there's no future for them because they want to work or because our economy is not stable at all, which is true. That is totally valid and perfect. I'm not saying that Argentina is perfect and that you are going to find a job because we're in a tough spot. But let's see what other first world countries are going through right now. Take a look at Spain, for example, or maybe Italy, or maybe Greece. Of course, these countries have economic stability, right? Take a look at this. There are many differences between these countries and Argentina, but they have serious problems too. If you're planning on staying, that's great. Argentina is probably not gonna grow instantly, but we have been in a similar situation and we got out. So think twice before leaving. We have really good public education here that other countries do not. Argentina has enough tools to get out of our economic crisis. It already happened to us. Many people who left Argentina in 2001 did it because our country was crashed. Maybe they did not have any other option. That's perfect, totally valid. However, by the year 2010, 80% of the people who had left our country came back. Both my father and my mother had the chance after 2001 to leave Argentina. While writing this talk, I asked my father, Dad, why did you stay in this country if it was so devastated? He answered that he did not want to begin a family in another place, another country. He wanted his son to grow with his grandparents, his family. He said to me, no other country is like this one. No other country is like Argentina. He does not regret for a second staying here. Probably my life have been a little different if I had gone to Spain, for example. But I do not think I would have liked another life that is not this one here in Argentina. Give this country a second chance. I'm sure that we will recover from this as we did in the past. Thanks for listening.
Wow, something to consider. Thank you. Thanks very much, Pato. Okay, let's talk about video games. Tell me something. When you hear that thousands of students and kids spend hours in front of video games, what do we first, or how do we first react? We freak out. We believe they are harmful, but is that true? Are they so terrible? With us, our next speaker, Facu Rojas Cruz. Thank you.
Are video games bad for you? That's what they say about rock and roll. How many of you had been told by an adult, have seen on TV or any social media that video games make you violent? At least I've heard it 1,000 times, and I'm tired of it. Televisions find it profitable to talk about violence in video games. But this is absolute nonsense because they give a bad message and misinform people about this. Video games don't make you violent. Let me explain myself. Around the 70s, the New York Times published an article about video games and violence and invited the psychologist Carly Cuckert to talk about them. The psychologist told the newspaper that the violence we see on TV is passive, but at the time of playing, we're not more the spectators. we become the main characters. We are the ones who pull the trigger. We become the man behind the slaughter. Let me remind you that around the 70s, video games just were a few pixels hanging around, and you need to have a lot of imagination to know what was going on. Well, several research studies showed up that video games and violence have no correlation at all. And if any type of violence occur is due to external factors or the individual's own behavior. And these factors could be some type of violence that the player suffers, like domestic violence, bullying, cyberbullying, or some kind of trauma. And regarding about the individual's own behavior, the player could have some kind of mental illness, or the personality itself. He, she, or they could be violent. And this isn't nice because it ends up with the player being aggressive, and this is toxic. However, video games have good effects, and I experienced this by myself. My little brother that has 5 years old plays Minecraft, and I noticed that it helped him with his reading and improving his creativity. And I'm very proud about the video games and my little brother, because it's incredible. I don't know, I just love this. Well, from my own point of view and experience, there are moments of anger in video games, but this anger or violence is temporary. This rage burns, lives, and dies on the screen.
Well, some things to think of. Our next speaker is going to give us very good reasons to love ourselves. With us, Juliana Keogan.
Why should we love ourselves? Self-love is the feeling of consideration and self-worth towards yourself. And this does not have to imply that you believe you are better than anyone, despise or ignore others. First of all, we aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. But not all of us know that. Because we grow up with a lot of stereotypes, and people think that they need to have the perfect body, the perfect family, the perfect life. And that is not okay. We have to love ourselves because of who we are. We are worth more than we think. We aren't perfect, and we will most certainly never be. But just as we have defects, difficulties, and limitations, we also have qualities and virtues that define us and that can also be of great help in the different stages of life. Give yourself the opportunity to be happy, accept, and love yourself. This is the best way to define self-acceptance. I'm going to share with you some steps that I consider are good for this. The first step to love yourself is to know that the opinion of the people around you doesn't matter. You have to stop caring about what other people think about you. They can't define you as a person. No matter what they say, you don't have to pay attention to them. Our opinions of ourselves are the only ones that matter. People criticize other people because they aren't comfortable with what they are like, and they think that they have to degrade others to feel better about themselves, and that is not okay. Another step is accepting how are you, your personality, and if you don't like it, change it. You have to know what you deserve, and you have to stop criticizing yourself excessively without thinking of opportunities for improvement. You have to stop focusing on the outside. When you really love your inside, when you really love your personality, the outside, who cares? If you work on the inside, it will be reflected on the outside. You have to stop staring at yourself in the mirror and picking every single thing that you hate about your body. and you can start to tell yourself everything that you love about your body. Stop comparing yourself with the person you think has the best body, the best hair, the best outfit, friends, the best life. You need to realize you are exactly what you are meant to be. You are doing exactly what you are meant to do. No one else in this planet is exactly you. No one else has your perspective, your DNA, no one else has your ideas. So stop comparing yourself to them. If you start to value yourself and comparing yourself with yourself, you will get the best version of you. And begin to understand that if you do not respect yourself or value yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. Think about a friend. She's crying because she believes that she is ugly and she thinks that she is not worth anything. What will you do? You are going to tell her that she is right, that she is worthless, that she is ugly? No. Why you do that to yourself? For many people, the process is slow and challenging. However, there is a great reward waiting for you at the end: happiness and peace. Respect yourself.
Very interesting message. Thank you. Our next speaker is going to talk about ghosts in our heads, mental disorders. With us, 𝐕𝐚𝐥𝐞𝐫𝐢𝐚.
Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about a way to kill a ghost. Do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe that they can live in our bodies? No, I don't. I don't believe they exist, but I had it inside my body last year. This ghost is called mental disorder, or we can call it a psychological ghost. Most of us experience sadness, anxiety, stress, mood swing, and depression. However, if this feeling happens too often in daily life, it can be a red flag of mental issues. Physical symptoms are insomnia, headache, and unexplained pain. Other signs include excessive worries, confused thinking, and low energy, inability to cope with daily problems, thinking about committing suicide, and no emotional control. Do you know that 45% of the world's teenagers have mental disorder? And 1 in 5 teens suffer from several mental illnesses. That is 20% of our teen population. Around half of the mental disorders start at the age of 14, and victims are mostly from 15 to 29 years old. One study said that women are more affected than men. Last year, when I had tons of tests, I set a very high bar for myself. I pulled many all-nighters, and what was the result? I failed. I was so disappointed, and that I started to feel worthless. Nothing made me happy. I found everything around me annoying. Life was so suffocating for me. I wanted to end my life. Suicide is the biggest killer in the world. There is one suicide every 40 seconds. There are 57% suicide more than the ones from the wars. So how can we kill this ghost? Here I have found some tips. Live a healthy life. There are many strategies that can help you establish and keep good mental health. This includes keep a positive attitude, stay physically active, eat a healthy diet, socialize with people whom you enjoy spending time with. In my opinion, I should say that receiving help is the most important thing anyone can do for themselves. But fortunately, the stigma keeps people from getting help. Mental disorder and mental illnesses should not be something to be ashamed of or thought of differently. When mental disorder is treated equally to other illnesses, more people will have the courage to get help and better the life. Let's love ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Remember, it is very important to take these issues seriously. But going with our next speaker, who's going to share his point of view on success, we tend to see success as this joyful moment. But have you ever thought about the behind the scenes? With us, Felipe Formaris.
Success is a thing that all people can achieve if they want to. It's a difficult process that might take you many or some years. Most of us have seen a guy in his very expensive car, well-dressed and assuming that he has a well-paid job to afford all that, and we'll think, wow, when I'm older, I want to be like that guy. It's pretty easy to say and think that one day you'll have most of the things that this guy has, but in fact it isn't. You will experience many things before you get there. Some are good and some others are really bad. Today I'm going to tell you what we don't see in this process of achieving success. The first thing I'm going to talk about is dedication. If you really want to achieve something, you need to focus on what you're doing because you need to put effort and time on doing what you want. If not, things will not go as we want them to. Dedication is related with failure because we might sometimes do things in a hurry or get distracted and we are not dedicating the time, also not paying attention to what we are doing. Nobody does things right the first time. There is always something wrong, but this is where we need to pay attention because having something wrong means there is room for improvement and also you can do much better. Failing sometimes will make you feel desperate, but you need to try to stay calm and do it again and better this time. Overcoming an obstacle is something that separates people who really want to achieve something from the ones that give up easily. If you want to achieve success, you will have to make some sacrifices because you can't be doing too many things at the same time. You should give priority to the things that will lead you to success. If not, you will start to lose concentration on what you are doing, and also you will not do the best way you possibly can because your head was on somewhere else. To help you achieve success, you can set short and long-term goals and try to achieve all of them. Also, don't give up. You just need to keep trying because at some point you will achieve your goals no matter what.
Okay, when we talk about respect for our parents, respect for elders, there is a term that is filial piety. This is a virtue, especially in the Chinese culture. With us, our next speaker, Debbie Huang.
If you ask me, what is the main content of my speech? I might summarize it into words, filial piety. Some people may have questions asked, what is filial piety? As far as I'm concerned, it's a visual of respect for one's parents and elderly. It's to give what they need joyfully when parents ask for. In more general terms, filial piety means to be good to one's parents, to take care of one's parents, to show love, respect, and support, to display courtesy,
to uphold fraternity among brothers. As we know, being thankful is a very important habit. Our parents give us our life. They work hard for us, and let's have the best life they can. They give us all their love. They give us food. They buy us new clothes, and gently put us to sleep. It's selfless love for us, so we should respect them. Parents give life to their children and support them throughout their developing years, providing food, education, and materials needs. After receiving all those benefits, children are still forever in debt to their parents. In order to acknowledge this eternal debt, children must respect and survive their parents all their life. And then, if I talk about it, I will also think of my grandparents. I would like also extend the meaning of filial piety to what I feel about my grandparents. Some years ago, when my parents got married, they decided to work abroad. So I live with my grandparents. And until now, I still remember my grandfather who was always say that he was the first person to hug me when I was born. When we are very small, we didn't know how to eat. They feed us. They teach us how to use cook stick and spoon. They help us take stay. When I began to go to school, my grandfather walks a very long way to pick me up, and my grandmother stayed at home, cooked for us. They took care of me for years. Sometimes I feel that our lives are really short. In the blink of an eye, we grow up. The sun and the moon fly by. The time flies like a horror. When we are mentioned enough, many years have gone by. Our parents are getting old. We should accompany them well and take good care of them, just as they did when we were young. When we go out, think that our parents are always waiting for us. Just remember, we can always return to our home, and our parents will always be at home, and they are always waiting for us. And let's filial piety.
Well, very interesting talk. Whenever you think of rugby or someone who plays the sport, some stereotypes come to our mind, right? According to our next speaker, we should be very careful with this. With us, Santiago 𝐓𝐿𝐴.
Rugby. ¿Cuál es la primera imagen que se les viene a la mente cuando escuchan la palabra rugby? ¿Está? Para algunos de ustedes son personas violentas que en algún punto de su vida fueron agresivas con el resto, llegando al punto de violar, golpear o matar a alguien solo por diversión. Para otros, son jugadores de un deporte el cual juegan y disfrutan con amigos. Estos grupos están compuestos por personas con diferentes proporciones físicas y clases sociales distintas. Sí, lo sé. Imagino que muchos de ustedes me están mirando como si estuviera defendiendo a violadores, golpeadores o asesinos. No. Solo quiero demostrar que el rugby no es un deporte donde se incita a la violencia y defiende a sus agresores. Los valores que la comunidad del rugby quiere transmitir son respeto, integridad, pasión, solidaridad y disciplina. El respeto es la primera lección que debe aprender todo jugador con el fin de valorar a sus compañeros, al referee y a las personas a su alrededor. La integridad está dividida en honestidad y juego limpio, que son las bases en las cuales el rugby está creado. Después está la pasión, que es cuando los jugadores y los fanáticos comparten un mismo sentimiento de empatía y entusiasmo, haciéndolos parte de la gran familia de rugby. La solidaridad es lo que hace al rugby tan especial. Es un sentimiento de grupo donde se forjan lazos fuertes y duraderos. Y después está la disciplina, que es la obligación que deben tener los jugadores de obedecer las reglas, órdenes e indicaciones dentro y fuera de la cancha. Los equipos de rugby están divididos por edades. Estas son categorías las cuales están vinculadas al año en que nació cada jugador, ya sea 2002, va a jugar con las personas que hayan nacido ese mismo año, no importa si tienen diferentes proporciones físicas o capacidades físicas. En estas categorías, en diferentes clubes, sus jugadores tienen una especie de ritual de iniciación, el cual consiste en agresiones físicas al nuevo jugador. Y si el jugador logra pasarla, va a estar aceptado dentro del grupo. Y esto sucede realmente, y me ocurrió a mí cuando tenía 11 años. Recibí agresiones físicas y verbales por parte de mis compañeros y me di cuenta que estos rituales son horribles. Después de haber vivido esa situación, empecé a defender a los nuevos jugadores que no querían participar de la ceremonia, ya que yo me oponía. La violencia es un acto que implica usar fuerza para dañar a otro o intentar hacerlo. El daño provocado por la violencia puede ser físico, psicológico o ambos. Para algunas personas, la violencia es su única forma de comunicar lo que sienten o querer sentirse superiores al resto. Esto ocurre en algunos casos, ya que durante su vida, sus familias los agredían provocando que ellos entiendan que la única forma de obedecer las reglas y respetar a los otros es por la violencia. Varias veces pasé por situaciones en las cuales fui víctima de violencia por parte de mis compañeros. No solo en el ritual de iniciación, cuando me tienen que pegar entre muchos, sino que también en los entrenamientos y en los partidos cuando íbamos en colectivo. Pero un día los confronté y les dije que pararan de molestarme porque no era gracioso. En el momento que dije esas palabras, recé por mi vida. Pero ellos me vieron que estaba tan enojado y harto de sus golpes y burlas, que decidieron terminar de molestarme y empezar a respetarme. Este es un ejemplo del cual se pueden aprender dos cosas. La primera es que hay veces que uno tiene que enfrentar los problemas y que no tiene que hacerlo solo. Y la segunda, no menos contra un grupo de rugbyers que tienen mucha fuerza y son enormes. Ahora en más, espero que la próxima vez que busquen en internet qué es un rugbyer, vean esta imagen, la cual simboliza la solidaridad y el respeto que se quiere transmitir en el rugby.
Wow, we should think more about these things. What happens if you live in a small town where everyone just is talking about what you should or what you should not do? What happens when you live in a small town where football is just for boys? To talk about this, soy Farración.
¿Pasó que cuando eran chicos les apasionaba algo y cuando crecieron no tuvieron la posibilidad de hacerlo por culpa del género? Hoy en día juego al fútbol porque es lo que me gusta, me apasiona, así también como ver partidos. Disfruto ambas actividades muchísimo. Hace un tiempo estamos viendo con unos amigos un partido y yo hice un comentario sobre un pase que hizo uno de los jugadores. A lo que un amigo me miró y me dijo, ¿qué opinas vos si no sabes nada? Me sentí horrible. ¿Por qué una mujer no puede hacer un comentario o tener una opinión sobre un tema de hombres? Mucha gente deja de hacer lo que les gusta por este tipo de comentarios. Es desmotivante que una persona diga que no puedes. A veces, mucha gente no se da cuenta de lo que hacen. No tienen ni idea que ciertos comentarios tienen un impacto muy negativo en las personas, porque las palabras dejan una huella más profunda de lo que se cree. Las palabras no llegan. Comentarios como, ¿por qué juegas al fútbol? Te van a quedar las piernas re musculosas como las de un hombre. O machita. Y podría pasar toda la charla relatando todos los comentarios que recibí. Debo insistir con este tema. Las palabras hieren. Cuando se habla de fútbol, se imagina pura y exclusivamente a hombres en una cancha. Se imagina que el fútbol masculino es mejor que el femenino. Pero eso no es verdad. La única diferencia real que existen son nuestros cuerpos. Pero todos deberíamos tener los mismos derechos. Mientras que a Lionel Messi se le paga 130 millones de euros por año, a Ada Hegerberg, que según FIFA es la mejor jugadora del mundo, se le pagan 400.000 euros por año. Sí, se le pagan 325 veces menos que a Messi. A las jugadoras de fútbol femenino se les paga mucho menos. Tienen que entrenar de noche, algunos a la medianoche, porque no tienen una cancha propia donde entrenar.
Esto hizo que comenzaran a aparecer más y más casos de mujeres desaparecidas y feminicidios. Caminar o tomar medio de transporte de noche en zonas inseguras trajo esa consecuencia. Si las mujeres se merecen algo, deberían tener las mismas oportunidades que los hombres. En Buenos Aires las cosas son duras, pero al menos se pudo ver un cambio mínimo, un comienzo. Pero ¿se preguntaron cómo son las cosas fuera de Ciudad Autónoma de Buenos Aires? ¿O Provincia de Buenos Aires? ¿Cómo son las cosas en otras provincias? En muchas provincias no existe la posibilidad de jugar al fútbol femenino. Neuquén, de donde vengo, es una de ellas. Allí hay pocos, y me atrevería a decir que casi no hay clubes donde se permite que las mujeres entrenen y compitan. Solo un club es reconocido por el fútbol femenino, ya que es uno de los mejores en el fútbol masculino. La poca importancia que muchas personas, desde entrenadores a gerentes de club, le dan al fútbol femenino trajo una muy triste consecuencia, que muchas mujeres no pueden hacer lo que les gusta, o simplemente lo que quieren. Además, las jugadoras toleramos comentarios y opiniones que desaniman, desmoralizan e intimidan, y afectan la salud mental. Los deportes son de todos, deben ser juegos disfrutados por todos, y el fútbol debe ser jugado por quien lo disfrute. Aunque es difícil que algunas personas de mente retrógrada entiendan esto. Lo único que nos resta hacer es dejar de aceptar las opiniones de los demás y las críticas destructivas, y quedarnos solo con lo constructivo. Es tiempo de estar unida contra esta lucha, porque es nuestra, y si no la peleamos nosotras, nadie lo va a hacer. El fútbol femenino ha atravesado una década de progreso. Tenemos que tomar ventaja de este siglo, donde casi todo se transformó para adaptarse a lo que nos sirve. No podemos bajar los brazos. La intención de cambiar está presente en todos nosotros, pero queda mucho por luchar. Muchas gracias.
Okay, really important to think about women trying to practice sports. But now our next speaker is going to talk about ballet, musical comedies, dancing, singing, acting. Who doesn't love that? But where can you become a professional? You know, a professional performer, or a dancer, or a singer. To answer these questions and many more, our next speaker, 𝐕𝐚𝐥𝐞𝐫𝐢𝐚 𝐊𝐵.
How many of you get mad when something like is not taken seriously? Well, that's what happens to me every time I talk about my future. The first time I realized that this happened was when I was watching some musical films and I noticed that in other countries arts are seen differently. They are more present and respected in society. Why is musical comedy more significant in other countries than in Argentina? Do you know how many universities here have this as a course of study? Just one, whose format was taken from Juilliard School, the most famous private performing arts conservatory in the world, in New York, United States. This shouldn't happen because working in theaters is a job like any other and you have to be prepared for it. In our country, if you want to do this, you have to study in many different places. Also, a lot of dance competitions are organized every year, but here, only a few. Sometimes I watch some films where the main character wants to dance, sing, or act, but he or she is not allowed. And there are always some sentences on those films which I hate to hear. You don't have to study that because you need to do a more serious thing. You're not going to get anywhere, or it's a waste of time. Why? Dancing, singing, and acting are also jobs. Talking about films. I usually want to look for a musical production on the platforms we are used to using, and in the catalog I find only a few. It is there when I realize that musicals are not taken seriously. Well, I want to relate with school. In secondary, musical comedy is not present. In primary school, we used to do the concert at the end of the year, and we also had drama lessons. So why don't we have this in high school? I don't understand why these subjects tend to be considered less important than reading, maths, or science, because some research has shown that integrating arts in education is academically beneficial. The 𝐓𝐶𝐾 Academy talked about the reasons why integrating arts is important in school. Some of their points were: working in the arts helps learners to develop creative problem-solving skills. Visual arts teach the learners about layout, color, perspective, and balance, all techniques that are necessary for presentation of academic work. Teaching arts with other disciplines reaches students who might not otherwise be engaged with classwork. And also arts can provide challenges for all learners at all levels. A study of Missouri made public schools that was made in 2010 found that graded arts education led to fewer disciplinary infractions and higher attendance or graduation rates and test scores. Also, early childhood can improve critical thinking, vocabulary, communication, and memory. Also, students who might have levels of art or higher levels of art involvement are less likely to drop out of school. When I finish school, I will study performing arts. Sometimes I'm talking to someone, and when I start speaking about performing arts that consist of dancing, singing, and acting, they don't know what that means. They do not even care, or others think that this is something insignificant, without importance. I don't care what people say or think. I will study performing arts, although others believe that this means becoming a makeup artist. Something funny is that the people that criticize the most are the ones that love spending hours watching this type of things. In Greece and Egypt, acting, singing, and dancing were the most common and entertaining thing. So these have been part of our society for ages. How would you feel if what you like very much to do or study is insignificant? I would like you to think about this. It will be better if arts are more present in school and also in universities, because if you want to see dancers, singers, and actors when you watch a film, those persons have to study and need to be prepared. So these have to be more present in our society. So stop thinking that this is something without importance, and let's start concentrating on what we can improve. Thank you.
Great, very interesting. Let's respect our artists, please. Anyways, would you say that you enjoy the present day? I mean, of course, with the lockdown and the pandemic and everything, enjoying is not an easy task, but in everyday life, there's always a little room for happiness. So with us, our next speaker, Aileen Flynn.
Okay. Is there anyone here who has never heard the famous phrase carpe diem? Maybe some of you don't know the meaning, but I'm sure you have heard it many times. There are people who get tattoos about it, or they have it stamped on a t-shirt, for example, like me. But carpe diem, it's only a part of a whole phrase, because the complete phrase is carpe diem quam minimum credula postero, which means take advantage of your day and trust as little as possible in tomorrow. Okay, do we really value our present? I mean, not because we have a t-shirt, a sticker, or a simple tattoo which says, live the present. It means that we really do it, right? How many times do we start supposing things that we think are going to happen? And finally, that drives us completely crazy. For example, when I realized none of those things happened, that everything was on my mind, I look at myself at the mirror and I'm like, okay, I'm worried about your mental health, honey. But the point is that we are always thinking about what is going to happen or what could have happened. But we never focus on what is happening now. And that is how we waste a lot of important moments. Now, let me tell you how I realized this. I have 5 pets. Probably most of you think it's a lot, but I don't think so. They're lovely, right? But in February, I lost my first dog, the one who shared with me all my childhood. And I was on vacations, and something inside of me told me that I will never be able to see him again. He was old and his kidneys were not working so well. So we're in a taxi, and I look at my mom and say to her, okay, I'm going to say goodbye to him, just wait for me. And before my mom could answer, I was already out of the car. I ran to my house and stayed 1 hour with him, singing to my dog. And I swear that of all the moments we spent together, that one was the most beautiful. And you know what? At another time, I probably would not have run to say goodbye to my dog because I would have been selfish. But life, and with this I don't want to cry, life had taught me that maybe your life seems perfect today and you have it all, but you can lose it in only 1 second. How many times does your grandmother send you videos on WhatsApp and you're like, oh, grandma, how nice, but you never see them? Come on, I do the same. But it will come a day when you're going to miss being sent a video of a silly cartoon or a simple image saying, good morning, God bless you. And I will include myself here. I have all the attention from my parents. My family loves me. I have beautiful friends, but I take all this for granted, not realizing how lucky I am. I mean, it's not as obvious as it seems to have people that support you no matter what. Some people are alone and they don't have anyone to take their problem. And let me tell you something else about myself. When I was 4 years old, my mom was kind of a month in a hospital. And I didn't know what was happening, but everyone thought she was going to die. And even though I was a kid and I don't remember many things, I know her recovery was some kind of miracle. And I'm the most grateful person in the world knowing that today my mom can be here listening to this TED Talk. Now, talking about gratitude. Did you know that being grateful gives you some benefits? There are some benefits which I didn't know and you probably don't know either. There is actual scientific evidence that proves how gratitude can change your brain, make you happier, boost your immune system, improve your relationships, and make you more productive. And you know what? Maybe you're not used to being grateful, but the Dr. Alex Korb in his book Upward Spiral tells us that trying to think of things you are grateful for forces you to focus on the positive aspects of your life. This simple act increases serotonin production in the anterior cingulate cortex, which means that the simple act of trying to be grateful is already beneficial. Now, let's make a deal. I'm not a guru, and I also complain a lot, but I will try to be more grateful. And for that, let me leave you some tips to practice gratitude. First, look at yourself in the mirror and think about something you like about yourself. Second, next time something bad happens, consider 5 good things that happened as a result of this event. And the last one, sit in a quiet place and think about when something that feeling every day for a week. Write it down, talk about it, relive it. And if time passes and we meet again, I hope by then we will all be more grateful. Finally, I want to say that I don't have carpe diem tattooed on my skin, but yes, I have my dog. Thank you.
Thank you, 𝐬𝐻. Okay, who doesn't have one of these at home? Tell me honestly, are you enjoying one right now? To talk to us about this classic from Argentina, our next speaker, Quienes, 𝐕𝐚𝐥𝐞𝐫𝐢𝐚.
¿Mate dulce o mate amargo? Una típica pregunta que todos los argentinos nos hicimos alguna vez. Como muchos saben, el mate es una bebida típica que está preparada con yerba mate. Pero lo que no todos saben es que trae grandes beneficios. Es rico en antioxidantes y nutrientes. Ayuda a proteger infecciones, te puede ayudar a bajar de peso, ayuda a bajar los niveles altos de azúcar y ayuda a bajar el riesgo de enfermedades cardíacas. Es una bebida natural, por lo tanto trae grandes beneficios para la salud. La primera palabra que se me viene a la cabeza cuando me hablan sobre el mate es la palabra ritual. Como todos sabemos, el mate es un ritual y una tradición típica que nos representa a todos los argentinos. ¿Pero alguna vez pensaron todos los valores que aprendemos a la hora de compartir un mate? Cuando tenía 13 años no podía entender cómo había tanta gente que le gustaba esta bebida típica. Hace un año estaba aburrida, sola en mi casa, entonces decidí calentar agua para darle al mate una oportunidad. Creo que ese fue el día en el que, de manera inconsciente, me convertí en una persona más adulta y madura. Después de esto, empecé a compartir más momentos con mi familia, porque ese era el momento en el que hablamos sobre cosas importantes de las que nunca antes habíamos hablado. La hora del mate empezó a ser súper importante y empecé a disfrutar de este simple acto, sea sola o acompañada. Va a sonar súper loco, pero les voy a contar un poco acerca de mi experiencia. Un año atrás comencé a ver el mate de una manera totalmente distinta. Ya no era solo una bebida. Puedo decir que el mate me hizo ver las cosas desde distintas perspectivas. Si les digo que a través de una bebida aprendemos valores que son fundamentales para la vida diaria, ¿me creerían? No, claro que no. Cuando compartimos un mate, nos conectamos con el otro. Pasamos de ser personas totalmente divididas a unificarnos compartiendo ideas. Podemos comparar el mate con el televisor. Y podemos decir que son totalmente lo contrario. El mate te hace hablar cuando estás con alguien y te hace pensar y reflexionar cuando estás solo. A través de esta bebida aprendemos muchos valores. Usamos el respeto y la paciencia cuando tenemos que esperar a que la otra persona termine de tomar su mate. Somos honestos cuando le decimos a nuestro compañero que tiene que cambiar la yerba porque está lavada. Usamos la comprensión y la tolerancia cuando aceptamos que quizás el mate no está bueno, pero la conversación realmente lo está. Aprendemos sobre justicia cuando sabemos que es un mate para mí y un mate para mi compañero. Pero lo más importante es que aprendemos a dar las gracias cuando no queremos más. Según una encuesta hecha por el Instituto Nacional Argentino de la Yerba Mate, el mate está presente en el 92% de los hogares en Argentina. Un dato curioso que me llamó súper la atención es que el 30 de noviembre se festeja el Día Nacional del Mate. en nuestro país. ¿Ustedes sabían esto? El mate es una de las pocas cosas que todos los argentinos compartimos además del fútbol. Tiene una variedad de apodos: matecito, matezuli, mateico, matemático y hasta Leo Mattioli. No discrimina, es para todas las edades, clases sociales, religiones. Está presente cuando estudiamos, cuando viajamos y cuando nos queremos relajar y ponernos a reflexionar. Yo, por ejemplo, todavía me sigo acordando de las charlas que tenía con un mate de por medio sentadas en la vereda con mi abuela. Esas son cosas que sin duda no me voy a olvidar jamás y que el mate me dejó. Lo que a mí más me gusta del mate es que te deja una enseñanza, y es la de que no se necesitan las mejores cosas o mucha plata para disfrutar de un simple momento. Después de pensar mucho, puedo decirles que el mate te ayuda a valorar los pequeños momentos, y que, volviendo a la pregunta del principio, no importa si es amargo o dulce, lo que realmente importa es la compañía. Gracias.
Thank you, Ine. Thank you so much. Okay, this is the end of all our TED Talks. Thanks for being here. Thanks to my co-hosts, Manu and Vito. I hope you have enjoyed these 3 events, and I hope you have learned something new. Okay, thanks, and over to you, Annie. Okay, I don't know if she's here. Well, thanks everyone. See you next year in our next event. Bye-bye.